From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Yes, it's an Orwellian outrage. Welcome to the Hurley in the Morning program. Not a minute too soon. I want to begin. I have a lot to say about this, of course. But I want to begin on something that I don't hear anybody talking about, and I would like an explanation. Jurors were scheduled to deliberate until 6 p.m. last night. At 4:30 p.m., and I was following all of this very closely, Judge Merchan told both sides that the jurors had not reached a verdict, that they would be leaving for the day, and they would return tomorrow, which is now today, to continue their deliberation. Minutes later, Merchan says he was wrong and that the jurors had reached a verdict. So I don't even know what to make of that, and they don't explain. Just like they don't explain anything. The thing's over, and we still don't know the charge, and he's guilty of something, but they don't say what he's guilty of. I mean, this is beyond bizarro world. This is, what did Laura Ingraham call it? She didn't say subterranean, but it's like the basement or something. This is below ground level. This is absolutely crazy what's going on. I'd like to know, did all of a sudden, was there one holdout? And did the person say, we don't have to come back tomorrow. I know he's guilty. I'm with you. He's guilty. We're unanimous now. What happened? You know, and there's no rules for how the jurors have to comport themselves. Something else, I know it's going to happen, so do you, and it'll be on the Democrat channels because the whole thing is a Democrat joke. Some of these jurors you know are going to come out. And get ready, there'll be the book. Somebody or more than one will write a book, and this is just... it is a terrible day, an absolutely terrible day. Here are sort of my catalog thoughts, but there's much, much more. Former United States President Donald Trump either won or lost the presidency last night in a New York City courtroom. And different people will have a different opinion on that. Mine is very firm. I strongly believe that President Trump won the 2024 United States presidency yesterday in light of the partisan prosecution that brazenly took place. Hold on one second. Let me just give... this is a guest that's coming up later today. We'll tell you about this in a little bit. Okay. So my opinion is very, very strong on this. I believe Trump won the presidency last night. This was partisan, brazenly so, and people see it. Expired misdemeanor charges were successfully reconstituted into a zombie case with vague federal allegations attached, and somehow permitted federal charges to be brought forward in a state court because that's the only way they got away with this. So it's so ripe to be reversed. But of course not. I hope the Supreme Court would get involved And maybe because of the uniqueness of a president running for re-election, maybe, but don't hold your breath on that. It's the most corrupt political action ever taken in American history. And you know I don't guarantee you too many things. I guarantee you it will not stand. I just can't tell you the date that will be able to prove that what I just said is true. Even after the conviction, 34 counts of so-called falsification of business records with ditto so-called fraudulent intent to conceal another crime, it's still unclear exactly what Trump was charged with. Even Fat Bragg had trouble saying what they found him guilty of last night. I'll get to him. So we don't know what Trump was really charged with, and now we don't really know what he was convicted of. The verdict will certainly be appealed, and the conviction will be reversed. People are going to say, oh, the conviction will likely be reversed. I'm telling you, it will be reversed. When the verdict was read, Attorney Jonathan Hurley was in the courtroom, and he stated shortly after on the Fox News channel that the media members present in the courtroom laughed as Trump was convicted. So when I tell you these are sick people, I'm not lying. They are sick. You had one member of the media call it a majestic day, the day we've been waiting for. I mean, when I use that term, and I don't do it to be salacious, that they're orgasmic about this. I've said that many times. Laura Ingraham said it last night, but I said it many times before she did. For the media present in the courtroom to laugh at President Trump being convicted, it is disgusting, it's disgraceful, and it's revealing. The Biden campaign didn't wait but a few minutes in calling Trump a convicted felon, and I told you that would happen. That you can check that box. That's a prediction made, and that's confirmed. Judge Juan Merchan, he holds a special place in my contempt Hall of Fame. This is a scumbag of the lowest order. He committed countless reversible errors throughout every phase of the trial, right to his flawed jury instructions. Merchan's jury instructions gave the jury really no room to do anything other than convict Trump. It would have been a nullification of his wishes to find Trump not guilty. The result is exactly what New York City District Attorney Fat Alvin Bragg wanted, and what Merchan wanted, and the other partisan Democrats, what they wanted. They're not concerned about being reversed. Usually they are, because they know that will come long after the November 5th general election. Bragg had the audacity to compare himself to Thomas Dewey last night, which is laughable. The jury convicted Trump allegedly of falsifying business records. Bragg, in his public comments last night, added that Trump is somehow guilty of trying to steal the 2016 election. But the jury didn't find him guilty of that. Fat Bragg, that's just a remark by Bragg that is poppycock, fantasy. In truth, this was a Soviet-style star chamber show trial in the likeness of, quote, you bring me the man, I'll find you the crime. Lavrentiy Beria, chief of the Soviet secret police. Tell me that's not exactly what it's like. The Trump trial was riddled with reversible errors. This was merely the verdict of one corrupt court. There is still the appellate process, some of that at the New York level. I don't hold much hope in, but we do have a Supreme Court. Merchan has set July 11th, 2024 to sentence President Trump. This is also not a coincidence. Just 4 days before the Republican National Convention. You know, usually, and I looked into this, and Hurley said it as well, it usually takes 3 months in a case like this. Business falsification of records type case. 3 months before sentencing. Not with Trump. Everything is fast, 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 fast. I heard this idiot, oh my God, who was the guy that got admonished? He was terrible on the Enron trial. He got admonished by the New York Supreme Court. Andrew. Oh, he's horrible. Whatever. I mean, I don't think I can remember his name because I don't want to remember his name. But he's horrible. He was talking about how, and this conviction may speed up everything else. Maybe the Supreme Court has been waiting for this. They don't even care about Fat Bragg's court. Are you kidding me? This JV courtroom. Give me a break. Andrew, what's his name? Oh, whatever. He was also just giddy. So Merchan sentencing Trump just 4 days before his convention. Typically, a presidential nominee gets a nice bounce coming out of their convention. It almost always happens. I don't think it's going to happen for Biden, but it almost always happens. They're trying to take that from Trump. Make the story and the whole run-up to his convention. Let's go into let's do analysis of what the probation officer can do and restrict his travel and all these things. I keep telling you, they're never going to stop. We have to stop them. They're never, ever going to stop. This is an attempt to mute a Trump bounce by purposely placing attention on Trump's sentencing rather than the Republican National Convention. Merchan bears watching. This is a dangerous little man with a bad hairdo. Merchan is a Joe Biden financial contributor. Never should have been on this case. And he wasn't selected. Thank you, Bob Progner, Andrew Weissman. There's such a delay. It's unfortunate that it takes like a minute or two. Or not just seconds. It's a minute or two delay if you're listening on the app. So thank you, Bob. Merchan was not. They didn't roll a drum and pick this guy, just out of the trees. He was selected to do what he did. Merchan is a Biden direct financial contributor. He was sanctioned by New York State for that. It's very inappropriate. All right, stop writing me on Weissman. I got it. 5 times now. That's not to you, Bob. That's like a bunch of other people are hitting me with this. Merchan's daughter has traded in all of this to raise millions of dollars opposing President Trump for other Democrats. Merchan has the power now. And this is bad news. He has the power to limit Trump's ability to move freely around the country. Or he could take away Trump's freedom altogether if he wants. He can put him in jail. Merchan can place travel restrictions, other punitive measures to affect Trump's ability to campaign effectively for the presidency. Trump had never been criminally charged of a crime in his life. As a nonviolent first-timer in this kangaroo court of clowns, Trump is unlikely to be given prison time. However, you can't trust this Merchan. Merchan has the power to work mischief against Trump, and he can significantly hamper Trump during the remaining campaign season. They've already succeeded in shelving Trump for much of the past 6 weeks. The entire Trump trial was rigged from start to finish with the intent of trying to rig the 2024 presidential election. Let's mark the state of the game right here, right now. Trump currently leads Biden in every national poll. More importantly, Trump leads Biden in every single battleground state poll as of this second. Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. The Democrat media, I'm telling you what they're going to do. They will now feverishly promote that Trump is a convicted felon. And they will continue to look into what can be done to him and all this stuff that has nothing to do with how much a gallon of milk or a pound of chicken costs. They will poll America after giving Joe Biden literally billions of dollars of market saturation level Trump trashing. They will then poll America to try to bring Biden back into this race. Judge Merchan, along with probation officers, can now impede Trump all the way through the November 5th, 2024 election. This is so absolutely premeditated, everything that they're doing, including, you don't think Merchan had it ready to go? He knew this jury was going to convict Trump. He led them to do that. Remember when he introduced in the morning, are you ready, to the defense? And then to the prosecution, are we ready? Are we ready? This thing was rigged. Trump's not lying when he says it. I'm not lying when I repeat it. This is a disgraceful case, and America may never be the same. The Merchan show trial and this dreadful result is an Orwellian outrage. Back in just a few minutes.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
It's a refreshing drive to work in the morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Fox News commentary.
To add insult to injury, illegal immigrants are driving up the cost of hotel accommodations in New York City. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Something amazing is happening when power outages strike. Teams are powering through them. That's because CDW Solutions architects are building more resilient IT and electrical infrastructures with Schneider Electric. With EcoCare remote monitoring services and 24/7 support, your organization can do more than keep the lights on. Schneider Electric and CDW make amazing happen. Learn more at cdw.com/Schneider Electric.
Illegal immigration is bankrupting many American cities, particularly the sanctuary ones like New York City. Here's another example. Illegals are driving up the cost of hotel rooms in New York City. Inflation is part of it, but another big part is attributed to the thousands of freeloading illegal immigrants who are squatting in taxpayer-funded and often luxury hotel accommodations. Rooms are now averaging over $300 a night, and if you've been to New York City, you know that doesn't get you much. Part of what's driving the supply and demand issue is that dozens of hotels have been converted into migrant shelters. This is costing New York taxpayers an arm and a leg, but I don't actually feel bad for y'all because you keep voting for this. I do feel badly for the tourists who are coming to the Big Apple and can't afford a decent hotel room due to the jacked up rates. Illegal immigration will bankrupt America. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Ocean City,
EHD,
Brigantine,
Mays Landing.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
I needed like 30 seconds, maybe 60 to finish something. I just added something to my article on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app because I forgot to include, just give me a second here. I just have to get my, God, I have so much on my mind. I'm telling you, it's a tough morning to do my job. Let's see. Hold on. All right, I got it here. I'm going to share with you the edit. That's not an edit. It's an addition. God, this is just terrible. Give me one more second. Just want to make sure it's good. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to share it with you. Go see the article. It's time well spent. I worked hard on it, and it's really very, very intellectually honest. I tried to be as dispassionate as I could be when something is done to someone that you like, that you're friends with, that you know is being treated dirty, being mistreated so badly. It's very hard. But I just added, remember, former Democratic National Committee political consultant Matthew Colangelo left his position as the third highest ranking member of the Biden administration Justice Department to join the Bragg team on the Trump witch hunt. Who takes a lesser job like this? Where's Jack Chitterelli? Who does that, Jack? Colangelo does that. I wanted to make sure that I did not leave that out of the story. Well, look, now to the law of unintended consequences, and they're all in Trump's favor. The contributions to his fundraising machine were so voluminous that his server crashed. It was down for like 30 minutes. You can imagine how many millions of dollars were lost. But within 30 minutes, it was back. And I heard Lee Zeldin talk about someone that he knows that made an $800,000 contribution. The Edelson spouse, I forget her first name, something like Miriam. She is now the majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks, who I have to say had a very ordinary regular season. They were low in the playoff ranking, and they're in the NBA Finals. The team that Mark Cuban, I believe, used to own completely himself. And for whatever, I don't even know why, I get, because it didn't seem like he needed the money. Multi-billionaire, but he sold the majority ownership to, I think her name is Miriam, something like that, Adelson. She is going to be starting a political action committee for Trump. Another big name, and it just escapes me at the moment, looks like he's going to come on board and endorse Trump. And what you have to appreciate, the like Joy Behag and all those losers, Whoopi and all of them, they're all going to be going crazy today. I mean, they think they've won something beautiful here. What they fail to recognize is, and I'm almost ready to give you a guarantee, just like every indictment has been a boost to Trump, this one is supercharged on steroids times infinity. It's so big. More on that right after the break. I obviously went long with my opening monologue. We'll be right back.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
It is, and I'm Harry Hurley. As I said, not a moment too soon. I have 3 stories that you can follow right now on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. And Atlantic City talk show host, that would be me, on the Donald Trump New York verdict. Atlantic City's Tony's Baltimore Grill, and they sent me a shout-out yesterday on social media. They have commented on the Margate Kelsey incident. And in Atlantic City, this is also Margate Bar and Restaurant of 50 years, nearly 50 years.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Our spectacular stretch of weather continues today. We'll see beautiful sunshine and dry weather with a seasonable high temperature this afternoon around 77. Clear, calm, and cool tonight, low 56. More sunshine for your Saturday tomorrow, a little bit warmer with a high of 80. More humid and 82 on Sunday, going from sun to clouds. Watch for scattered showers arriving late day Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
This is an important safety.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. For complete contest rules, visit WPGTalkRadio.com. Hurley in the morning.
Harry Hurley is the only person that can make sense of what's happening in Atlantic City.
On WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. Let me share some what I think is just helpful information for those that I know, because my phone went. I honestly got to a point last night where I had to put my phone on silent at several levels. Number one, I couldn't take anymore. And number two, the volume was just so much that it was just becoming beyond stressful. I couldn't take it anymore. So I had been up for a long time. I had to get a little bit of sleep, put it on silent. When I woke up, there was something like 100 something text messages. I'm still, going through them. And a lot of people, even some really smart, powerful people, are really off their game right now. They are unnerved by this. They are affected by this. And this has hit people that care about and like President Trump. This has hit them very, very hard. And I'm one of them. This is terrible. But what I decided to do was go to work. So I have that fortunate, ability. I can just go to work and get my thoughts together and sort through the noise. Because, as I've told you before, I don't spin. I analyze, and I objectively look at things. And I can already see, and I said this to you yesterday, prepare for a guilty verdict. Go to the podcast. I know what I said. I told you to prepare for a guilty verdict. And I also said, while I don't want it to be guilty, a guilty verdict politically is better for President Trump than if he had been acquitted or a hung jury. And that's not to make lemonade out of lemons. That's a fact. And if you listen to Democrat people like Mark Penn and others, they will tell you this does nothing for Democrats, and this helps Trump with Republicans and with independents. And let me share something with you. This is even with just the idea of it being a conviction. Now imagine now that it really is. I have Marist polling results and I have NPR polling results, all favorable Democrat polls. The whole thing of impact of a Trump conviction. 15% said they're more likely to vote for Trump if he's convicted. 17% said they're less likely to vote for Trump if he's convicted. And 67% said no difference. This data is only a couple of days old, May 21st through May 23rd. 1,122 registered voters were surveyed. I also think it's very important that I share with you that as of right now, before the impact of this verdict is baked in with the American people, which will happen quickly. It's already happened. Everybody knows at this point. Trump leads Arizona. This is the cumulative average of all polls between April 11th and May 21st. Trump leads Arizona by 4 points. Trump leads Nevada by 5.4 points. But remember, his leads are bigger now than they were in April. So I'm giving you just the straight skinny, but this is a wide amount of time. April 11th to May 21st, you're talking about a month and a half. Not a month and a half, but a month and 10 or 11 days. So his numbers are even better than what I'm sharing. But I'm just giving you every poll of about the past 6 weeks. Trump leads Arizona by 4, Nevada by 5.4, Wisconsin, which you wouldn't even expect, by 0.1. Michigan, which he doesn't need and you wouldn't expect, 0.5. Pennsylvania, which would be great to win, 2.3. North Carolina, which he will win, 4.8. Georgia, which he will win, 4.8. I remind you, in 2020, Trump lost Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. I think he won North Carolina, but I'll have to double check. And he lost Georgia. I'm going to double check that. He may have lost North Carolina. I think he lost them all. He's now winning them all. And he really only needs to win about 3 of the 7. 4 would be great. I think he's going to win at least 5. And at the end of the day, he could lose Wisconsin. He doesn't need it. And we'll just say one other. I don't think he's going to lose more than that, though. The other thing that's pretty remarkable, but Kari Lake is an interesting sort of case, for a lot of reasons. Trump leads by a lot in Arizona and in Nevada, and yet the Republican candidate for the United States Senate is losing in both. Now, they are dealing with Democrat incumbents and things like that, but Trump is overperforming the Senate candidates. That's really good news for a lot of reasons. Trump is strong, and the difference between him and the Senate candidates, they'll come together as we get closer. People will be voting, and they'll go down the ticket. But that's also very, very good news. I mentioned to you that the President Trump website crashed, minutes after the verdict came, and we'll share it with you when we get it, whether I have to do it digitally or here on air, whenever we can give you the numbers. But I have no doubt that Trump had a record fundraising effort yesterday. Quote, so many Americans were moved to donate to President Trump's campaign that the Win Red pages went down. The campaign posted that at 5:51 p.m. last night. The site was down for roughly 30 minutes, and it was back online at 6:25 p.m. When it returned, there was a message from Trump. Quote, the left thinks that if they bury me with enough witch hunts and intimidate my family and associates, that I will eventually throw my hands up and give up on our America First movement. Let me be as clear as possible. I will never stop fighting for you. Quote, I'm a political prisoner. I was just convicted in a rigged political witch hunt trial. I did nothing wrong. They've raided my home, arrested me, took my mugshot, and now they've just convicted me. Crooked Joe Biden needs to get the message right here, right now, that his chances of a second term end today. But for that to happen, our immediate pushback must be so massive it will go down in history. We must make Joe Biden regret ever coming after us. Let me comment on that, because on my post right after the verdict, I wrote a very brief piece. But now I have written, in fact, I just thought of this. I need to go put a link to my article. I'll do that. I'm going to break in a minute. That's important. I got to put my article with my comment from yesterday. But there's a point to this, though. In my comment about the result, it just came so abundantly clear to me that although this is terrible and you wish it wouldn't have happened, and I've been speaking about this for several days now, that politically, the Democrats keep trying to take Trump down, and they keep lifting him up. I think it may have been Newt Gingrich that said it. And he said this the night before the verdict, that there may be nothing that the Democrats can do at this point to stop Trump from being president. See, Joe Biden has things, Trump's got things that you got to work on. You know, being convicted isn't great and all this. You got to work on stuff. But he's got stuff that's fixable. Joe Biden, he's unfixable. Big difference. We'll be back. We're taking your phone calls for the full 7 o'clock hour. Now, if I know you for almost 32 years, this July 1st, that we've been together, and tomorrow's June 1st, so we're about a 31 years and 11 months together. If I know you like I think I do, I think you're going to explode my Telos VSET computer phone lines. Just a hunch.
Hurley in the morning.
They stick to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're listening to Hurley in the morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
It is 54 minutes past the hour. Let's do this because we already have a lot of phone calls standing by. I said we were going to start taking your calls right after the top of the hour. Let's start taking some calls right now. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open. Open for them all next hour. We have Atlantic County Republican Party Chairman Don Purdy, so we'll have an opportunity. He was already scheduled, but we'll have an opportunity to get his take on President Trump's conviction. I almost feel like I could write down what I think he will say. And at 8:35, we're going to be joined by Curtis Bashaw, the Republican candidate for the United States Senate for New Jersey. And then coming up in the 9 o'clock hour this morning, Atlantic City Councilman at Large, George Tibbett. In fairness, you've been holding the longest. You're on the air. Good morning.
Mr. Hurley, good morning.
Morning.
You know, President Trump's trial, the judge, as bad as the judge was, I wouldn't put anything past him. Could he have accepted the result from the jury, dismissed him, and then politely read off what he wanted it to be?
No. The jury was there. And the jury was polled after the guilty verdict was shared by the foreperson. The entire jury was polled, and all 12 of them stated that yes, they had voted guilty. The thing that they didn't do, they didn't on the charging documents. When you have those papers at the end, what you found a defendant guilty of, they didn't put anything on there. This is like a mystery. Trump has now he didn't get to defend himself against the charges because the charges weren't shared. Remember, these were 2 misdemeanor garbage things that were dead because of the statute of limitations. They resurrected them. That's why and I wrote it in my column called a zombie case. They resurrected it by attaching it to a felony, which they don't even have the authority to do that. This entire thing is irregular. So they have found President Trump guilty of you can make something felonious, but a federal charge is what I meant to say, not felony. But it is felonious too. That was not inaccurate, but it was incomplete. So all during the trial, they don't say what these other things that allowed them to bring these charges in the first place. I know this is confusing, but it's almost the only way I can try to verbalize this stuff. It's very, very bad what they did here. You would think you would learn at the time of the charging documents, at the time of the opening comments of the prosecution. at some point during the trial, but it wasn't until actually their closing summation after the defense had rested its case, and because New York has the defense goes first, and the defense should always go last because you're the one that can lose your freedom. You should get the last shot. Everything was rigged here. Finally, they said these three things. One was a tax thing. Another one was an election felony. Again, they have no authority to do this, but they did it. Then the judge told the jury, you don't have to be unanimous. If you find him guilty of any of the three in any order, good. We'll go with that. But it has to be unanimous. So we don't know what he was convicted of. We know that he was convicted of filing false business records, which he didn't even do. There was nothing false about writing that you paid Michael Cohen for legal expenses. And there's nothing illegal about a non-disclosure, and you can pay someone if you make a deal that, you don't want whatever they could do publicly to be done. You don't want your business hurt. You don't want your family hurt. You can do that. This is still America, except in New York City in Merchan's courtroom. And so Judge Merchan would not allow the Federal Election Commission chairman to testify. He would have been fantastic and helpful. Wouldn't let him testify. And the jury relied on Judge Merchan's instructions, and they found President Trump guilty. But there was nothing, the jury did find him guilty. There was nothing about, hey, you guys can leave now, and then Merchan just said, hey, they voted guilty. Hey, he's guilty now. No, I mean, they did it in the open court. But in fairness, it was an open kangaroo court. That's probably the best explanation you're going to get on what happened yesterday anywhere today. More of your calls coming up right after the break. Don't go away. It is the Hurley in the Morning program.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. Welcome. It's 6 minutes past the hour. All right, I've had my say, and now I want to sit back and hear what you have to say about all of this. As I told you, I have so many things that I want to share with you that I haven't had a chance to share with you. For example, that Alvin Bragg said, this is what we do. I did my job. This is our bread and butter. This is the cases we do. No one's ever done a case like this before. This is a Frankenstein case. Zombie case. It's never been done. It's just he lied about lying and lied some more about lying. 609-407-1450, an open phone line. Bob, good morning. You get the first crack at this. Go ahead.
Hey, Harry. When something extraordinary like this happens, we need to ask ourselves, where do we go from here? And as a movement, the conservative movement, the Republican Party, this is a time to unite. And even moderate Republicans, libertarians, fair-minded Democrats, independents, it's time to get behind President Trump. And, even people like Mitt Romney and Chris Christie, it's time to show your patriotism.
Well, they're not going to, but I will tell you, Bob, that it already has started. Mitch McConnell came out last night. Susan Collins, who does not like President Trump, she came out last night. Everything you just said is in the process of happening. Remember, with Chris Christie, he has hopeless Trump derangement syndrome. He wants to help Joe Biden in the debate. I wouldn't even mention him ever again. Mitt Romney, just as bad. But everybody else, any persuadables, they're on board. I know that some people are going to think, oh, Harry's spinning. He's spinning. I'm not spinning. The Democrats have done more to unite Republicans over this than Republicans ever could have done themselves.
You're correct, Harry. Even Rich Lowry, a Never Trumper, editor of the iconic National Review, he came out strongly for Trump after this verdict. So, no, you're absolutely correct. Look, one point I really want to make, Levin, who's a talented lawyer, last night, he said the Supreme Court, look, this supposedly needs to go through the appellate level. So it will not be rolled upon until after the election. But Levin said the Supreme Court, and the example was Bush versus Gore for what happened in Florida in 2000. Yeah. The Supreme Court did get involved in extraordinary circumstances, and this is an absolute extraordinary circumstances because this New York judge and crooked process in New York is impeding and limiting the rights of people in Texas, in Florida, even in New Jersey.
Bob, no, the whole, and you're not even New Jersey, and not just Texas, Florida, the whole country. Everybody has standing in this because of what they've done to the leading candidate running for president. And you're absolutely right. And listen, I think it's even more ripe for SCOTUS to get involved in this one than, and I do agree, and I had predicted that they would get involved in Bush v. Gore. And of course, the Democrats have never, forgiven the Supreme Court for that decision because it stopped their crooked process. Remember, they only wanted Palm Beach, Miami-Dade, and Broward to be counted. They didn't want the whole state. They were cherry picking to try to make Al Gore the president because Democrats believe that they deserve to win and that any ends justify the means. Bob, I submit to you this is even more appropriate for the Supreme Court because a lower court bootstrapped federal charges to a local dead matter, and they should step in because of that.
Absolutely, Harry. Look. You mentioned this before. These were misdemeanor charges where the statute of limitations had taken place, and again, they federalized a local misdemeanor.
Remember how premeditated New York is with trying to take down Trump. The E. Jean Carroll situation. New York purposely, for a limited period, reopened the statute of limitations so that E. Jean Carroll was able to go back. I was working for President Trump on or around the time that she is alleging that he did this stuff in that changing room. Now, remember, her charges were even worse than Blasey Ford on Brett Kavanaugh. She doesn't know what year. She doesn't know what day, what month. And again, how can anybody ever be held accountable? That was civil, not criminal. But Trump was found responsible in that civil decision for all that money. How can somebody ever be convicted when the person doesn't even know the day, the date, the month, the year that something supposedly happened? I mean, I literally can't believe what New York is currently getting away with. Now, I think that Trump is ultimately going to win that one on appeal. So that money is posted but on hold. I know that Trump is going to win this New York v. Trump. But this is what New York, think about it. They opened up the statute of limitations decades to get him on that civil thing. And now you have this bootstrapped craziness that they got away with. It's incredible, Bob.
Well, look at the DAs, the Letitia James, the New York State Attorney General, right, and this guy Bragg. These are communists that George Soros put in place, to attack our country. I mean, that is really the only conclusion you can come up with. And again,
to attack our country in general, but in particular to attack Republicans.
Right.
Not Democrats. They're with the Democrats.
Of course. And
they're with their fellow communists, in other words.
Look, you said it in the first hour, Harry. You know, these DAs, they all graduated with honors from the Berea School of Law in the Soviet Union, right? I mean,
no doubt.
They sure did. Okay.
Good to talk to you, Bob.
All right, Harry.
Thank you, my friend. Coming right back to your calls in just a few minutes. Please don't go away. It is the Hurley in the Morning program. Your phone calls for the entire hour. Don Purdy will be with us at 8:06. Curtis Bashaw at 8:35. And then Dateline Atlantic City. We'll get the latest with Councilman George Tibbett coming up in the 9 o'clock hour.
Hurley in the Morning.
Not only the news, but perspective too.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Turn up your radio. Here's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Welcome to the sick world of unequal justice under the law. This lawfare is going to continue, and it's only going to get worse. And, but you do have a remedy, and this is what I want to focus on. Your remedy is your right to vote. I've said to everybody, overcome your reluctance and resistance to voting early, because you don't want to start Election Day down hundreds of thousands of votes. Republicans need to adopt, match, and surpass, legal ballot harvesting efforts of Democrats. We'll have full coverage of all of this tonight on Hannity. God bless this great country. We need God's help.
Check out the Sean Hannity radio show later today, right here.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Enable our skill and tell your smart speaker, play WPG. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City, Goshen, Cape May.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
We are back. It's 18 minutes past the hour, and I did mean to mention this when Bob was on with us in the last segment. President Trump will be addressing the nation at 11 a.m. this morning. I will absolutely be making it a point to tune in. And the good news about President Trump is he is typically, I can't promise his start time, but he's typically very prompt. When you hear like Fat Bragg is going to talk at 6:30, I'm telling you, you're not going to see him. The earliest would be quarter of, and probably later. And he was 20-some minutes, after when he said he would. Biden, same thing. It's really weird. Republicans seem to be prompt, like respect your time. I am so strict about that kind of thing. The old expression about if you're on time, you're late. I always get to anywhere that time is involved. I get there early because I leave the potential that you could get delayed in traffic, you could whatever. So, I'm not saying you have to get somewhere 3 hours early to make sure that you're going to be on time, but it's weird. I know it's a generalization, but Obama was very, very bad. George W. Bush was very good with being on time. Trump, always spot on. I mean, I can't tell you how many times if we had arranged that we would have a call when I was working for him at Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts, always on time. Just very, very good like that. So watch. 11 o'clock will come and he won't be there. No, I say he will be there. You're on deck. Don't go away. You are up. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Harry. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
5 minutes early to everything, all the time.
You got to be.
Yep. I talked two people off the ledge yesterday. Literally. They were so despondent, they couldn't even have a conversation. I don't see it this way. To continue to go over the minutia, the insane minutia of what has happened here, Mershon, his daughter. I know it's your job. I know what you have to do in your life. It's your biz. But it's a waste of time.
No.
What I think what's most important in this country is that 35% of our citizens would vote for this guy no matter what. And that should scare the bejesus out of all of us.
But you can't do anything about that.
Well, okay.
You cannot control what some loon, if Biden was a cadaver, to quote someone who said that recently, Bill Maher, he would still get 30% of the vote. And if you told the person, you do realize he's a cadaver now. I know. So it's kind of interesting. You're calling a waste of time staying on top of exactly what happened, and then you bring up something we absolutely can't control, and that is what the other side will do. That built in, whenever we cite polling, we always know there is a kook fringe of anywhere between 25 to 35% that you cannot control. So all you can do is worry about all the other stuff. Now, the reason I think it's significant to bring up what happened here is because it's all going to be part of the appeal process to overturn the unjust conviction. And if that can happen prior to the election, that would be fantastic. If it is left to the usual devices, it won't even be heard by the appellate court in New York for 6 months. So that's going to be after the election. It won't even be heard until then. And then they take their time with the decision and so on and so forth. And then if they don't overturn it, you got to go to the next one and the next one. So that's why the Harvey Weinstein thing took like 2 years. I don't think Trump will take 2 years, but I think unless the Supreme Court gets involved, that it will take beyond the election. So I strenuously disagree with you this morning.
Well, I didn't get to finish. And what I wanted to tie this together with is we all know the minutia. We all know how corrupt they are. We don't need to be told constantly that they're still corrupt. The other people need to know this. The 35% need to know this because they don't know it. I have two liberal sisters that don't know anything that you talk about. None of it.
But but here's what you're failing to, I'm not going to break through, I can tell. So I'm going to stop in a second because let me tell you something. This is the only waste of time this morning on this show. You're wasting my time and you're wasting our time. Don't get insulted. This is a waste. You could show your sisters for the rest of your lives proof about corruption of Biden, everything that we know. And guess what? On November 5th, if not sooner, if they vote by mail or vote early, during early voting, they're voting for Biden still. Why are you incessantly staying on top of this 35% that we absolutely cannot have any say in?
Well, many people use the word common sense Democrats. I've heard. I think Bob just used common sense Democrats.
I'm with that, but that's not the 35%.
Well, that's my point. They're in the mix, and they need to be reached. That is extremely important because they cannot get this information. They just can't get it.
Well, Jimmy, I'll tell you this. I think what's happening right now, and let's wait and see how all this bakes in completely. But as of a day ago, in polling by NPR and Marist, 67% of the American people are unfazed if Trump would be convicted. Now, I'm always mindful there is a difference between a hypothetical and now that it's real. So I want to wait for the actual fallout as opposed to someone, if I call you, hey, Jimmy, and I'm not going to say it's you because you're with Trump regardless, but say you were a persuadable. Hey, Jimmy, it's me, Harry from the Polling Institute. If Trump is convicted in New York, would that affect your vote? Yes or no?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right, you're going to say, no, that's not going to affect my vote.
Yeah.
So 67 to 70%, it's not even going to affect their vote. And here's the part that's interesting. 15 to 17%, depending on which one of the polls you're looking at, say that it would make them more likely to vote for Trump. And then about the same number, about 15%, say that it would make them less likely to vote for President Trump. But my theory there is the 15% that would be less likely, they probably weren't voting for Trump anyhow.
So it's a wash. And,
yes.
And I'm telling you now.
But it's better than a wash, though. I've been saying all trial long, Jimmy, that I didn't want this to happen, but that the best political result for Trump would be to be convicted in New York. I knew it. The fundraising would go absolutely bananas, and Republicans would coalesce, even ones that don't like Trump. Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, and people like that. The Democrats are succeeding. Not only should all the people that called you last night that needed your therapy, which you are good at, they should understand that this knock is a boost for Trump.
First thing I told them, we're going to raise $100 million in less than 48 hours.
Well, guess what they did? Miriam Edelson donated $100 million herself.
Well, there you go. So you're right. That's
last
my
night.
Point is that
$100 million. She's forming a super Trump PAC. She donated $100 million to her own super PAC. And then yet another person donate $800,000, another person donate $300,000, and then you had millions of $5, $10, $15, $25, $50, $100 contributions. The Democrats are making it a certainty that Trump is going to be president.
Correct. They've shot themselves in the foot again, like they always do. So I tell people not to worry about this stuff. It's kabuki theater. I think the Supreme Court will go 9-0, personally.
No, they won't go 9-0, but it will probably be something like the worst 6-3, 7-2, 8-1. You know, there's some bad people, on that court. So there are occasions where they'll do the right thing and go 9-0. I would hope this would be one of them, because how in the world did they even get away with having a federal trial in the state court? Because that's what they did.
Yeah, how they get into law school is beyond me.
I know. All right, Jimmy. Good call. And we duked it out a little bit there, and I like that too, because I know you can take it. 609-407-1450, an open phone line. Welcome to the Hurley in the Morning program. You're on the air.
Hey, Harry.
Yo.
Hey, Harry.
Tom, Tom, hold on. You got to do me a big favor, Tom. You're going to be right after the break. I'm going to call it Fat Finger. I pressed the wrong button. This caller has been holding on the longest, and you are next, and then you're after that caller, so please don't bail out either. All right, look what I just did. I corrected host error. You're on. Go.
Good morning, Harry. It's a great day in the city of Brigantine.
Yes.
So when Hey, Fat Alvin said I did my job, he wasn't talking to New York. He wasn't talking to the American people. He was talking to Joe Biden. And you notice he had Colangelo standing next to him on his left.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, you got to give it to them. They're right in your face.
Yeah. Now, this word felon is going to go the same route as the word racist and the word Hitler. It's going to be rendered meaningless due to overuse. I'm sure they poll tested, and everybody wants to hear the word felon. People are going to get sick of hearing it. It's going to go in one ear and out the other.
I agree with almost all of that. I want to have a split decision on one small part. Well, maybe it's not a small part. I don't believe that people want to hear the word felon. The people like Joy Behar and Joe Biden and Letitia James and Fat Alvin, They want to hear themselves say the word. And Andrew Weissman and that whole crowd, they want to hear the word felon. The American people aren't like these people. They don't want to hear about their former and likely future president being called a convicted felon. Nobody wants to hear that except them. And that's why Joe Biden didn't come out and speak. Remember, they tested it earlier in the week that Joe Biden would speak from the White House about the verdict. Notice, Andy, he didn't do that, did he?
No.
Because it wasn't going to be helpful to him, because the American people have already figured out he's behind the whole thing. So he had to call that off. Now, it is true the Biden-Harris campaign didn't wait 2 minutes to say convicted felon Donald Trump. They want to say it. I don't believe the American people want to hear it.
Well, I'll be curious to hear the word they use and attach to the 80 million Americans who vote for a convicted felon. What will they call us, Harry? Now, how many times has Joe Biden, how many times have the Democrats said unequivocally that they want to run against Donald Trump? He's the guy they want to run against. If that were true, then Joe Biden yesterday would have pardoned Donald Trump. Okay?
But here's the crazy thing. Joe Biden can't pardon Donald Trump, and Donald Trump wouldn't take it anyhow because you have to admit you committed a crime to get a pardon. Trump would not admit to that. But that's not the reason that it wouldn't happen. Trump was convicted even though, and this is why the whole thing is going to collapse once a dispassionate decider makes the call. I want everybody to understand this very clearly. Trump was convicted of state charges. Kathy Hochul could pardon Donald Trump, not Joe Biden.
Well, I thought they made it a federal.
I know they did, but they didn't legally make it a federal conviction. He is guilty of a state conviction. The reason they got to present the case is because a corrupt judge allowed dead charges, zombies, to resurrect by attaching the federal charges, but they don't have the authority to do it. They did it, and it's going to be smacked down. But Trump was not convicted of something that a president can commute or pardon. These were state charges, and all the paperwork will be state, and it doesn't say anything. That's the point I brought up in my earlier monologue. Even though Fat Bragg said, and the jury also said that he was trying to affect the 2016 election. No, they didn't. The paperwork is in. It's signed. It's over, and you can't go back and change it. They found him guilty of filing the false business reports, expenses. That's it. So that's my comment on that.
Do you have one more minute, Harry?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so a couple of things. What angered me the most yesterday was the reportage of what Mershon told the jurors when it was over. He said, "You are now free to go out and talk to everyone you wish about the case." This is the guy that silenced, Donald Trump, and now he's telling these jurors, "Go out and spread the good news." You're free.
You're right. You're absolutely right about that. Dan the Spackle Man texted me just a minute ago while you were talking, Andy, and I, of course, didn't want to interrupt you. He said, "We will pardon Trump." He's right about that.
That's right. Well, Jonathan Turley said that we will see on Election Day the biggest jury in American history, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, I'll give you the words. You've said this a lot over the years. What's meant to happen is going to happen. Yep. So what happened yesterday was meant to happen.
Yes.
But I'll leave you with the words of Victor Davis Hanson. He said, "That which cannot continue will not continue."
Yeah, he's brilliant, isn't he? Thank you, Andy. Have a great weekend, and keep it a great day in Brigantine until we meet again. Tom, you are next, I promise, and the rest of the calls right when we come back in a few minutes.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Oh my God, I'm going to need a nap after this show. It is, and we're not even at halftime. It's 34 minutes past the hour. I have 3 stories you can follow right now on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. An Atlantic City talk show host, I wonder who that is, on the Trump New York verdict. Please read all about it. I spent a lot of time on it. Atlantic City's Tony's Baltimore Grill gave me a shout out on social media, and they have commented on the Margate Kelsey incident. And in Atlantic City is Margate again, bar restaurant that's been open for nearly
occasions only.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Today looks great. Tomorrow looks great. Sunday could get a little bit iffy. Mostly sunny and dry across South Jersey for your Friday. Seasonable high temperatures, 77 degrees. Tonight, clear, calm, cool, low 56. We'll do it again tomorrow. Sunshine and a little bit warmer, high reaching for 80. Sun to clouds on Sunday. Looks mainly dry, but some showers roll in late day. High 82. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Locally on and off.
Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
It tends to make me feel a little bit more intelligent.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you for waking up early in the morning. And needless to say, it's a busy news day. Your calls, most meaningful at 609-407-1450, where we do have an open phone line for the first time this hour. So somebody grab it. Tom, sorry about that little flub there. You're on now, though.
Hey, Harry. Hey, Tom Foley.
Yeah.
I just want to say this is everybody's been saying unbelievable things. I agree with Andy. I agree with Bob that this is an unbelievable day because we have now Russia and China are probably dancing in the street, their leaders, because we've made a disgrace out of the justice system, and they ought to be real proud of themselves.
Well, here's what Putin would say next time. Don't ever criticize me again. Don't ever say that I do things that take out my competition. I mean, Putin is laughing the loudest.
Exactly right. This whole thing, people don't realize. And here's another thing, Harry. Just imagine if that was me or you or anyone else. How in the world could we afford all those lawyers, all those cases, all those court cases?
No, they can. In other words, if they can do this to him, they could crush us.
Exactly. And everybody in the United States of America ought to realize that this is something that's not just going to affect President Trump. This is going to affect each and every one of you. They're going to be scared to death to go before a judge and a jury anymore because they just take a justice system and destroyed it in the United States of America. I've never seen anything like it. Let me tell you something. I don't care if you're a Democrat, independent, or unaffiliated, or a Republican. You got to stand behind the justice of this country, and God save us because we're in trouble.
Yeah,
my Trump flag's out flying right now because this is the most disgraceful thing I've ever seen in my life. I hope that everybody realizes that, and just remember, this could be you.
Thank you, Tom. Good, well said, and it's so true. But remember, Trump raised just last night. Basically, you can't count necessarily super PACs. It does count, don't get me wrong, but when they talk about the campaign receiving contributions, it's the ones that come directly to the campaign, to the candidate. So I'll expand it because when you have Miriam Adelson donating $100 million herself, because she that was it for her. Last night she formed a super PAC, and she's putting the first $100 million into it. Do you know that was a big deal when George W. Bush raised $100 million? He was the first one to ever do that. Now this is like nothing. Now it takes way more than $1 billion, $2 billion. The money that is going to be spent in the next 5 months is going to be not only record-setting, it is going to be breathtaking, staggering. And Trump is on a campaign finance roll. And at 11 o'clock today, when he fires up the nation with what was done to him, he is going to have such a huge end of this month in terms of the fundraising. I mean, last night, between the Super PAC stuff and individual contributions, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump raised $300 million yesterday in hours. I'm talking about between 5 p.m. and 12 midnight. I'm talking about just yesterday, the few hours that were left in yesterday. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Harry.
Hey.
The judge that presided over the trial.
Yeah.
Now that's the same judge that's going to impose the sentence, right?
Of course.
So, since the judge and the prosecutor and hate him, what's to stop him from putting him in jail?
There's nothing stopping him. He'll stop himself, though. You know, he still has to, breathe and exist after he does this. He's going to be rough on Trump. He's going to curtail him as much as he can. I don't know. I don't believe he will put him in jail because there are certain things our country just won't tolerate. First-time offender, bogus case to begin with, and he would put him in jail. He could. He's allowed to within the sentencing guidelines, but he shouldn't and he won't. But I think he is going to limit his travel, and they're going to make it tough. I mean, it's going to be really hard for him between now and November 5th especially. But the harder they make it, the more it's going to boomerang and hit them between the eyes. But, Gary, the short answer is he can put him in jail. I don't think he will. I am praying that Trump wins a stay of Merchan's sentencing. That is achievable. I'm thinking New York State is going to knock him down, the appellate court. But maybe Trump can get to the Supreme Court and they could put a stay until after November 5th. There's no rush here. The normal time that a judge sentences someone like this is 3 months. I already looked into it. He's doing it in like a month and a half. I mean, this guy's terrible. He's awful. So I think they're going to limit him. He'll have a probation officer in New York, a probation officer in Florida, and he's probably going to have to pee in a cup, get drug tested, random searches. They're going to do a lot of stuff to break his chops. And they'll also require him before he travels to get permission. Now, that's where it could get very, very tough. Because if he wants to hold a rally and then they just don't get back to him right away, we're really busy, and they wait a week to get back to him. Well, I wanted to have it the next day. Oh, sorry, we got back to you. So they can really mess with him. That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, but now, if he did put him in jail, and could he still win the presidency?
Of course he can. The only time you can run for president as a convicted felon. Treason is the only thing that disqualifies you. That's why Democrats started talking treason. They just were using the term. The Tiger guy has run twice for president. He has cancer now, but he's run as a convicted felon from prison. That doesn't stop him a bit. Now, of course, if they put him either in home confinement or in a jail cell at Rikers Island, they would love to do that. You had that ass clown Adams saying, yes, we've met with Rikers Island and we're ready. I'm sick of these people. He's not going to Rikers Island. And the Secret Service is not sleeping in prison. So, but he could be home confined.
Yeah.
He could make it that he can't travel outside of Manhattan. That would be fantastic if he did that, right? Not even make it Florida. He would say, you have to stay in Manhattan. You can't leave outside of this borough. That's not going to happen either, I don't think. But they're going to mess with him every way that they can. Gary, I've got to run. One open phone line because I just freed it with Gary saying goodbye. It's 46 minutes past the hour. We'll be back. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open. It is.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
It's the topics that matter to me.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
I listen every morning.
WPG Talk Radio.
Thank you.
95.5.
We found the one. Thank you. 21 minutes past the hour, visiting with Don Purdy, chairman of the Atlantic County Republican Party. Coming up after the bottom of the hour break at 8:35, we'll visit for about 15 minutes with Curtis Bashaw, the Republican candidate for the United States Senate for New Jersey. And I will tell you, with the exception of one wrinkle, and it was beyond his control. Somebody did something dirty that day and got into President Trump's ear, and that endorsement happened that wasn't supposed to happen. Curtis has run, I think you're going to agree with this, Chairman, he's run a flawless campaign, a high-energy campaign, a really effective, good campaign. I think he's well-positioned here, Chairman. What are your thoughts?
Well, one of the things, Harry, that we really need to talk about is his opponent. Listen, she's a mayor, she's a Republican, and I don't want to talk bad about her policies of what she does locally in her towns and what she represents. But at the end of the day, she represents her community up there. She doesn't represent South Jersey. She was invited to our convention. She didn't even show up. Her chief of staff was there. I offered him the chance to speak. It wouldn't even speak, but then you want to represent. So, Curtis Bashaw has been going up and down the coast of New Jersey, in and out to the western ends of New Jersey, and covering the real estate every day. And that's what you need to be able to win, and she does not do that.
And the proof of that is that you said it, and you're an honest broker, but also, independent of your good word, is he won 16 of 21 county endorsements.
That's right, and he did that by hard work.
Yeah,
he did that by relationships that he has built and the team that he's put around him. The mayor of the small town up north. I'm not going to talk bad about her because I think she's probably a very nice person. But sometimes it's not about just who's the nice person; it's about who the person is doing the job. And as a communicator, as a people person, there's nobody that's a better communicator than Curtis Bashaw, especially in this race for U.S. Senate. And I think it's going to show on the primary. And I said to some of her supporters, I said she might be a great lady, but if you wake up again on the 5th of June, what do you do then?
Yeah.
What do you do then?
Well,
and Curtis has got an operating machine behind him.
Yeah, and what I'd love to see on our ballot in November is Trump, Bashaw, Van Drew, and you go from there because, as you know, we have at least one tough race at the county level, and it's not anybody's fault. It's a presidential election year. That's the worst time. Especially if it's a district that includes Atlantic City and Pleasantville, and also just flat out, the fact that it's a presidential election year and the realignment of the particular seat. So we have at least one really tough county race, and I think a big boost would be, just like I knew it in the previous election cycle when you had Palestina. And then you had Guardian and Swift and Denny. And I mean, this was, it was a great ticket. And it was your first election as chairman. It was the greatest election in Atlantic County Republican history. We want to keep that momentum going and not give back a seat that we shouldn't. And I think that ballot composition of who's on there, people know Curtis. People don't know the other person. I mean, if I asked our audience right now, it's down to two people. The other ones are not legitimately in it. Everybody knows Curtis. You need a roadmap to find your way to Glassner. So this is, to me, I think this ballot composition it's important in terms of President Trump and do we get a Republican as the next senator for the first time in 50 years from New Jersey, Don Purdy. But that is also very important down ballot. Do you agree?
100% I agree, Harry, and the Democrats are worried. We'll talk later in the program about the shenanigans going on at the Board of Elections. When I tell you some of the stories that's happening over there, the Democrats are really, really, really worried. And they should be. They really should be, Harry, because people got their chapter of their book. They know what they're doing. I know what they're doing, and the people are going to know what they're doing. So we'll talk about the next chapter, but in the later part of the hour. But as of now, there's a perfect storm here coming up, and I think that President Trump saying about winning New Jersey, with rhetoric going on like this, one thing you got to say about New Jerseyans is we're a tough bunch of individuals.
Oh, yeah.
Male and female. And people in New Jersey don't get pushed around. And when you see stuff like this stuff happening, when you just seen on the front of the New York Times how they captioned this whole fiasco, I think that you're going to see that more and more people are going to publicly come out. A lot of Trump supporters, you do see the ones that are out there being supportive, but you have a lot of people that are going in that booth and they're voting, but they're not going to actually say who they're voting for. I think that's going to change. And over the summer, you're going to see a very, very loudly change happening because people are watching and they're saying, if it could happen to President Trump, it can happen to me. It could happen to my wife. Correct. It could happen to my kids.
Correct.
And we need to stop it. And this is when we need to stop it. And President Trump has said it back in 2016. It's not me they're trying to beat. It's you. And it's the taxpayers. It's the public. And we can't stand by and let it happen. And you're watching it fold out live right in front of us.
It's very well said. Chairman Don Purdy, Atlantic County Republican Party Chairman. We have 2 minutes. We want to break exactly at 30 minutes past the hour because we have a 5-minute break, and that'll get us right on time because Curtis is one of those highly professional people. He's never late. So I do expect him to be ready to go right at 8:35. We'll maximize our time with Curtis, and then that will leave us at least 5 minutes at the end of our interview with Curtis. We'll take the break. And then that'll give the chairman the opportunity to give us an update what's happening. If you're not aware, I've written about it. I've spoken about it. I've interviewed Chairman Purdy about it. I learned about it through Chairman Purdy's work. I followed up on him with this story. It is a terrible, terrible example of what can go wrong in terms of election season. And the allegations are serious. Many ballots, thousands of ballots opened prematurely. Very, very serious allegations that the chairman will be talking about in the final 5 minutes of this hour. Let me give you the minute that we have before the bottom of the hour to share anything else that you'd like to talk about.
Well, Harry, let's talk about this real quick because there's a very important date coming up. Very important, Harry, and the date is June 20th. And it's so important because
it's the 17th annual Hurley in the Morning Charity Golf Open, which is true, but I'm just teasing. Go ahead.
That is exactly what I'm bringing it up. Because June 20th is my birthday, Harry.
I know, because mine's the 19th. I know your birthday.
Yes, and we celebrate it every year together, right on midnight.
I know.
It was just great, but I want to thank you for all the charity stuff you do, Harry. You don't talk about it enough, just between you and me and obviously now your audience. Thank you for everything you do and the people that you reach out and you help with your charity organization. Your dinner is a huge success. The golf outing is always a huge success. For some reason, I feel great because when your golf outing is, you always have the best weather. So that means my birthday is going to have great weather.
I love it. All right, Chairman, let's do this. Thank you for the platitudes, which I appreciate. And if June 20th is anything else that you want to share, you'll have 5 minutes uninterrupted after we interview Curtis together. We're going to team interview this coming up in just a few minutes. Don't go away with Don Purdy. I am Hurley in the Morning.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
30 minutes past the hour exactly, as I mentioned. Harry Hurley along with Don Purdy. And I have 3 stories that you can follow right now on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. An Atlantic City talk show host, I wonder who that is, on the Trump New York verdict. Read all about it. Atlantic City's Tony's Baltimore Grills gave me a shout out yesterday on their very vibrant social media presence about Margate and the incident with the Kelseys. And in Atlantic City, again, Margate Bar Restaurant that's been open for nearly 50 years. Check it out.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Our spectacular stretch of weather continues today. We'll see beautiful sunshine and dry weather with a seasonable high temperature this afternoon around 77. Clear, calm, and cool tonight, low 56. More sunshine for your Saturday tomorrow, a little bit warmer with a high of 80. More humid and 82 on Sunday, going from sun to clouds. Watch for scattered showers arriving late day Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today. This is an important safety.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the morning.
Egg Harbor Township. I'm from Margate.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
Brigantine. Cape May. Galloway.
Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Always like it when the guest makes the host look good. I mentioned how professional Curtis Bashaw always is. He's always on time, and he's been ready to go a few minutes before airtime. It's 36 minutes past the hour, so technically we're a little late for Curtis, but he was not late for us. We had scheduled it for 8:35. We got back by 8:36. Don Purdy is here, Atlantic County Republican Party chairman, and we welcome the Republican candidate for the United States Senate for New Jersey, Curtis Bashaw. Curtis, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, Harry. I'm very well. We're in Hamilton this morning, going to a coffee with Curtis with some folks, lots of Republican folks in Hamilton. So we're going to be visiting with them in a few minutes. It's a gorgeous spring day, and we're beginning our 4-day barnstorming event as we lead up to June 4th.
Curtis, Don Purdy is here, as you know, the Atlantic County Republican Party chairman. So we're going to team co-host the interview. Don, you get the second question. The first question, host prerogative, is going to go from me. And I think it's something we should just hit right up front. And that is, Curtis, as a candidate for the United States Senate and at any other level, that, you know, as an American citizen, what are your feelings about New York v. Trump, the verdict?
Well, listen, in our Pledge of Allegiance, it ends with the phrase, with liberty and justice for all. You know, blind justice, due process, is a bedrock principle and pillar of our republic. And what happened with that biased prosecutor collaborating with a judge to persecute by prosecution is a travesty of justice. It's going to further divide our nation, and it's going to erode faith in one of the most fundamental pillars that we have. I think it will be appealed. I think there's a million holes in the tactics that they used. I appreciate the service of the jury. They were led by a judge and a prosecutor. And I know that besides the appeal, we have Election Day. So I think this, in a sense, will help Trump's momentum. People are sick. My grandfather, you know, suffered from the weaponization of our institutions when they used the Federal Communications Commission to silence his radio station in the 1960s. His name was Carl McIntyre. And I remember this agency taking away his license and him renting a boat and going into international waters called Radio Free America and broadcasting to defend his liberty. I also remember another little aside thing. Do you remember Harrison Williams and Abscam?
Of course.
Harry?
Yes.
Well, you know, my grandfather was upset about that, too. Harrison Williams was a liberal Democratic senator. My grandfather was a conservative Republican, God and country preacher. And, you know, when the government was tempting and entrapping people in evil and getting them, after 3 tries, they caught this man. My grandfather talked about the weaponization and the politicization of our judicial system and our agencies. And I just think that is part of the eternal vigilance we need to do. My opinion is President Trump has been victimized in this situation, and I think American voters see the unfairness of it. If it was anyone else with these charges, this would never have gone to court.
What an elegant answer, and just one of the best answers I've heard, and descriptions about what has happened here. The flip side of that, before we get to Chairman Purdy's next question, for the candidate Curtis Bashoff for the United States Senate for New Jersey, the law of unintended consequences, though. Miriam Adelson came out outraged last night, announced $100 million deposit into a super PAC that she is forming to support President Trump. She's obviously going to raise hundreds of millions more, and tens of millions more came pouring in. So when people do the wrong thing, there is an adverse effect to that. Now, I don't wish this on my friend, the president, because it's painful and it's unjust. But politically, this is a boost. What they did to try to hurt him actually is going to help him.
It's so interesting when people lose their way with their strategy and they win the battle but lose the war.
There it is.
And
right there.
I think about the Japanese attacking Pearl Harbor. It awoke the American country to what was at stake, and we won that war decisively.
And before that, there was not an appetite for America to enter the war. So that made it impossible for us not to. So again, the law of unintended consequences.
Yes, it's a very interesting cycle. I think that it has definitely been a sad day in our country. You mourn for the fact that these fundamental institutions are under attack and being disabused. And we need to, I'm running for Senate to bring back integrity to these federal offices and to go there and restore, justice needs to be blind.
Yeah.
We have to have due process. That's a bedrock principle of our country. Election integrity, that's another bedrock and principle. We need to have election integrity in our country, which is why I support voter identification. We've got to get back to common sense solutions so we can restore faith in these institutions and not lose our freedoms.
Chairman, I want to remind people, but to remind people, it has to be something that they knew in the first place. This may never have been revealed before, so I might be saying it for the first time in this way, but it gives you the opportunity to comment, and it is about Curtis. When I had the privilege for the second year to be the Master of Ceremonies for the incredible Ronald Reagan dinner that Chairman Purdy established, it's an amazing gathering. No one knew I was going to do this. Chairman Purdy said, Harry, I put no limits on you. You can say whatever you want to say. And nobody knew I was going to do this. I personally endorsed Curtis. I believe there were other people running that were in the crowd that night, and I didn't want to make anybody else feel bad or uncomfortable, but I believed in Curtis. And as this campaign has gone on, I believe in him even more. He has run a masterclass of a campaign, earning 16 of 21 county chairman endorsements, actually party endorsements in those counties. That is very tough to do. So I wanted to just put that out there for everyone because, as you know, Chairman Purdy, I don't hand out my personal endorsement very often.
Well, Harry, and good morning, Curtis. That is very important for people to understand. And I want Curtis to tell the people really quick. I mean, New Jersey, if you're going up, Jack Ciattarelli burnt out New Jersey like crazy, going up and down the coast and to the west side and to the lower the lower sides of Cumberland. People don't realize when you get out to the Maurice River and stuff just how far New Jersey goes from coast to coast here. Curtis, tell people where you've been and how you've been communicating your message.
Well, thanks, Chairman. We are definitely the best customers of the Garden State Parkway and the New Jersey Turnpike this month. I think we're setting a record. The odometer, we've been over 60,000 miles on this campaign in our car. And we have been to the urban centers of our cities. We've been to the suburbs all over the 21 counties, and we've been to our rural areas. One thing that's impressed me is just how beautiful and diverse New Jersey is. We love our shore in our southern communities. Our shore is the best shoreline in the United States, and it's the best beaches. But you go up northwest and you have the mountains and lakes in Sussex County. You have the rolling verdant farmland in Hunterdon and Warren counties. You get down to Salem County and the Cowtown Rodeo and all the beautiful things there are there, the bywaters and backwaters of Cumberland County with the Maurice River and these beautiful towns of Shiloh and Bivalve and Shell Pile all along our oyster coast. New Jersey is a fantastic state, and to be able to have the privilege of being to hundreds of events all over this state and get to know the voters and see what binds us together as a state and also the nuances to the issues affecting each of us. Universally, New Jerseyans are distressed about safety and security. From the open border, which we visited 2 weekends ago, was up all night at a hole in the wall, an unfinished section of our border, watching up to 60 migrants come into our country through an unlocked back door. It would be like not locking your house at night. And these Border Patrol folks, they don't understand why border security has been politicized. You know, it's been conflated with immigration issues, which is probably why it's been so difficult. But if you take immigration away from border security, there is no rational policy reason not to have our locks working on our doors at night so we can lock up and go to sleep. But the security issue for New Jersey goes down to the communities and the fact that we haven't supported law enforcement. The men and women in blue need our support, and the stigmatization of them during or post-COVID has led to our police academies being half full.
Yeah.
We need to fill those academies, restore the pride in the blue, and support law enforcement like never before, because all of us crave that domestic tranquility to live in security and safety in our homes and our communities. Finally, inflation, whatever Biden can say, their administration tries to peddle this line that, you know, the economy's good, unemployment's good, we're having growth. It is not good around the kitchen tables or in the counting houses of our small businesses. Goods and services cost more money, and it's putting stress and strain on people, coupling that with this crazy giveaway of our energy independence by Joe Biden and this Murphy fiasco of trying to pollute our precious shoreline with these costly windmills. New Jerseyans are ready for change. We need to change and break this Democratic monopoly for the Senate. We need to break it. It's been 52 years. We get back 49th out of 50 states. We're the biggest loser in what we get back from the federal government, and we need to fix that. I'm an outsider. I'm a business guy. I love my hotels, the Virginia, Congress Hall, what we've done, the team we've built with 1,000 employees, payroll by payroll, budget by budget. I can't deficit spend at Congress Hall. We'd be broke. We can't spend our way as a nation into prosperity. And so this is a moment in time for change. I think what happened yesterday in New York, that travesty of justice, is going to further gin up turnout. This is going to be a big election. We have a huge opportunity for Republicans, and we need to expand our tent and pull those unaffiliated voters and those conservative Democrats. I like to say it's not your grandmother's Democratic Party anymore. It is a radicalized party, and that's why I believe many Democrats will pull our way in the Senate race and will consider President Trump as our leader for the U.S. presidency.
You know, before you get to the general election, you have to win on Tuesday. Chairman Purdy, final minute. It is, in my opinion, it's imperative that Curtis Bashaw be the Republican nominee. I talked about, before you arrived, Curtis, about down ballot, Trump, Bashaw, Van Drew, and then going from there down the ballot. This is a huge tipping point election. Closing comment, Don Purdy.
Well, I mean, Harry, you just heard it firsthand from Curtis Bashaw of, it's not somebody, he's earned this vote. And if you listen to Curtis and how he represents not just himself, but the vision of what he believes our country was built on, the foundation, this explains it. Curtis just explained it in a very short period of time. And that is why Curtis will be the winner when you wake up on June 5th. He will be the winner, and he has earned it. And I'm proud to say that he is not just my guy, not just a South Jersey guy, but he is the guy, and he's the man for this job in Washington, D.C.
Curtis, we can stretch it 1 minute if you want to make a closing comment.
Well, thank you, Chairman, very much. I earnestly believe that a vote for my opponent in this primary is a vote for Andy Kim. I know that we are the only campaign that can beat Andy Kim in November. He is a weak candidate. He is very liberal in his progressive ideas. He's voted with Biden in the squad every single time. He voted against the anti-Semitism bill. And the contrast that we can make as an outsider, as a business person that's brought people together to get things done, that's what we've done, is something that he can't do. He's never signed the front side of a paycheck in his entire life. In fact, he's been paid by the federal government his entire life to opine on what we should be doing in our businesses and in our homes. So there is a stark contrast. We need your support for Curtis Bashaw on the Atlantic County ballot, Cape May County. We are there. We're number one in the Senate block in Atlantic County. We're in the column in Cape May County and Cumberland County. Please vote for us June 4th. Early voting has started. You can vote today. You can vote tomorrow. You can vote Sunday. So let's do this together. Let's bring a South Jersey candidate to a statewide office, and let's take back this seat this fall. We got to save our country, and we've got to save our state.
Great appearance, Curtis. Good wishes, and we'll talk again. Have a good day.
Thanks, Chairman. Thanks, Harry. Have a
welcome.
Good day. Thanks.
Curtis Bashaw, I will tell you that if every New Jerseyan could have heard that at the same moment, every person voting in the Republican primary, he couldn't lose. Masterclass campaign. Chairman, back. You get the time when we come back right after this.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
Honesty and transparency, is not afraid to get down and dirty and really just tell me the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Hurley in the morning.
It's breaking news that I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We had 3 minutes left with Atlantic County Republican Party Chairman Don Purdy. Let's make it count, Chairman. Time is yours.
So, Harry, what do you do if you make a mistake?
Well, you usually apologize and you correct the mistake.
There you go. And you change the way, whatever it was that you did, to fix it so it doesn't happen again, correct?
Yes.
Well, I mean, the Board of Elections here, and this is very important for you to understand, Harry, and I know you do understand it, but the public, the Board of Elections is, I made it clear that they opened almost 2,000 ballots because some of them were vintners that had an actual election going on.
Yeah.
They opened to ahead of time. But they come back and they said that it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, Harry. They were instructed by a Democrat supervisor, not once, but twice, to open these ballots. And the statute also states that when they're going to strip these envelopes, they have to notify the superintendent of elections to see if they're going to be present when it happens. They didn't do any of that, Harry. Any of that. And they want to turn around and move on and just say, we're just going to move on and count the ballots. I'm not just here as a Republican chairman, but the Democrats had a lot of ballots in there as well. There was more Democrat ballots in that opened envelopes than there was Republicans. And the Democrat chairman has not said one thing about it. Not one.
What?
But you want to criticize Joe Girallo for saying that you don't get your absentee ballot 52 days is not enough time.
Chairman, we only have 30 seconds. What is going to happen about this?
Harry, they're kicking the ball. They're complaining. They're complaining about putting more cameras up in there. They don't want cameras. I'm like, why would anybody, you work in a public office and you're dealing with ballots, be worried about adding more cameras?
Well, it's very simple to me. I'll say it, and I know you would too. Maybe you would have if I didn't jump in. If you don't want cameras, you're doing something you don't want people to see.
And the public knows it, Harry. Now the Democrat side is seeing as well as the Republicans. And I am not going to let this office sit back and play games with our elections anymore. It's not happening.
To be continued, Chairman. Great to be with you.
Town Square Media Station.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dateline Atlantic City.
6 minutes.
Next. It's a
starts
busy
now.
news.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
All right, so let me open with something. I'm so happy. You know, I usually have the Johnny Carson rule. You don't talk about what you're going to talk about until you do the show. Johnny Carson had a rule. He didn't meet with the guests before the show because he always felt that it was a better interview and a better show when it was more spontaneous, and so he wouldn't ever talk about what they were going to talk about. I mentioned to Councilman Tibbet, hey, I hope you don't mind. I got to bring up President Trump. I mean, the verdict and everything. And George Tibbet is one of the most plugged-in people that I have ever known. He pays attention to everything and has such a command of current issues and things like that. If you want to know how did a jury of 12 people convict President Trump of a crime that he did not commit. Now, remember, they're taking the instructions from the judge. And so when the judge creates boundaries which only lead to conviction, that's what a jury is going to do, not to mention this is New York jury and so forth. George Tibbet was of the opinion that President Trump used campaign funds to pay that NDA to Stormy Daniels. I educated George. No, he did not. He paid a retainer $30,000 a month for 34 straight months to Michael Cohen, who made the non-disclosure deal with Stormy Daniels. George, this is a compliment. As plugged in as you are, you thought Trump was potentially guilty of using campaign funds to do what he did.
Yes, good morning. And Harry, just to, like we were talking prior to the show while we were waiting to come on, I said, you said, do you want to talk about it? I said, I'm fair game. It's fair. It's major in this country, and it really affects every one of us, regardless if we're Democrats or Republicans. Yep. And I said to Harry, listen, Harry, me and you can have a friendly debate about this, but listen, I think he's guilty of sin on using campaign monies to shut her up and to keep the hush money thing. I said he had no business doing it. But then again, I also believe it should have happened 8 years ago. And then then you corrected me and you told me it was the retainer. Again, one part you left out. The retainer was not paid from his campaign money either. That was a personal attorney, personal money.
Yeah.
So
I thought I did make that clear.
At no time you corrected me. At no time ever did he ever use campaign funds to pay off somebody that may blow the whistle or on something he did or did not do.
And in order to take old misdemeanors that were expired, statute of limitations, they bootstrapped a federal charge to it, but there was no federal election violation. The whole thing is a scam.
Well, look, I pay attention. I watch that stuff all the time.
But the jury, what I'm getting at...
I thought it. Look how quick I thought it. So,
well, no, and in fairness, a lot of people think it. More people think it that don't, because Judge Merchan made it seem like Trump did use campaign funds.
Got me.
And they got the jury.
Yeah, so...
it'll be overturned.
Listen, there's no doubt. It was Al Gore, George Bush, where the Supreme Court, because it was going to affect a presidential election, they were allowed to immediately, because you have to go through the channels to get to that, they were allowed to immediately, because it was affecting a presidential election. It was Gore-Bush is the case.
Yeah,
and,
Bush v. Gore.
Yeah, so they're going to hear it, and listen,
I hope they're going to hear it, because if they don't, the appellate court in New York isn't going to hear it for at least 6 months. The election's over. That's not right. This should get expedited.
Let me ask you something. Let's be clear. Let's be honest. Is there anybody out there that's really going to change their vote because of what just happened in New York City?
Let me say this.
I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote.
It's true. The polling data says that George Tibbet is right, that 67 to 70% of the American people has no effect on them whatsoever. 15% say it makes them more likely to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
And about 17% say it makes them less likely. They're probably people that weren't voting for Trump anyhow. Yeah. I agree it will only affect a handful of people. However, if you look at what this could be, if 7 states and a few thousand votes in 7 states decides if Biden or Trump is the next president, then something like this could be the difference. It's not many people.
Yeah, I think he sealed it yesterday.
I do too.
I think he sealed the deal. He's your next president.
That's in my column.
And you look at his campaign fundraising, it's off the chart.
Crazy.
Watch what you wish for. You could get it. They got it.
Also, too, I've
and
said
it's going to be overturned. Listen, Harry, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, but this affects us as a nation. It affects our judicial system, our faith in the judicial system. And forget Democrat or Republican. Listen, I had my problems with Trump over the years in Atlantic City, right? So I have no love for the guy. But does he protect my money? Does he protect my country? Does he protect us militarily to make sure we're safe abroad?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes to all 3 of those questions. And look at the other guy suffering from dementia, and the world is laughing at us.
It's tough.
And when you get to our age, you don't even think about your kids no more. You start thinking about your grandkids at that point. What am I going to leave? I'm getting ready to go into the 4th quarter of life. What am I leaving behind? And what kind of world are we leaving behind for our grandkids? And so it's dangerous when you do what you did in New York City. If he's guilty of something, then he's got to pay. But what they did in New York City, we could do that.
You realize
you could do that to the Democrats. You could do it to independents. That opens the door for a lot of dirty stuff that, hey, you could blackmail presidents now.
They did it.
That's the reason you're not supposed to be able to do this.
This alleged relationship, and by the way, the judge should have never let her testify about condoms and how was the sex and
what did it have to do with the case?
Nothing. They just wanted the jury to get overloaded with crap. This was allegedly from 2006. Mm-hmm. The statute of limitations had run out years and years ago. It's so fake, it's unbelievable. But yeah, it has had the opposite effect. They raised, Miriam Edelson contributed $100 million towards a super PAC that she is forming. That's going to be hundreds of millions more when that's done. And the website, the Trump website for fundraising was getting crushed so heavy it went down.
Yeah.
He broke the internet. So it went down for 30 minutes and they got it back. So like you said, be careful what you wish for.
This is a very important time for us because what we got going on, both Democrat and Republican right now, it's difficult, but we need to be paying attention, not this year, but 4 years from now, where we have to get good Democrats and good Republicans to run.
Yeah.
And have a problem on picking between who the better person is.
Would be wonderful.
But look where we're at today, like what we're dealing with. The selection, it's citywide, it's statewide, it's federal-wise. We're destroying from within.
Well, let's bring this up and bring it to the local level when we come back. Because what I always say is what happens at the national level comes down to the local level. And the conduct of the mayor of Atlantic City, Marty Small, with the thugocracy that he has, presided over, targeting John Devlin for ruination, taking away his MUA spot, taking away his Board of Education spot, all these other examples of very, very bad things. The same bad stuff comes right down to the local level. Much more with Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett. This is the one and the only Hurley in the Morning radio program. Believe it or not, almost completing year 32 on the station that plays the winners. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. George, let me put your mic back on for a quick second. I can't believe that this program on July 1st turns 32.
Yeah, it's scary.
That's
how
half
fast,
my life.
It's scary how fast time's flying by.
People that when they hear 32, they think I'm kidding. It's not possible. It feels like half that amount of time. It is a lesson, though, that life is precious. Time is fleeting, and not to do stupid stuff. Really worry about the stuff that's important because, George, look how fast it goes.
Yeah, I'm 38 years with the Roofers Union, and it's like I still feel like I just started.
I know, you're on probation. We'll be right back. Don't go away. It is Hurley in the Morning with Atlantic City Councilman at Large, George Tibbett.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the Morning.
They really do separate fact from fiction.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We're back. It is Hurley in the Morning with Atlantic City Councilman at Large, George Tibbett. We were chatting during the break, and it's in my article. If you want to go to the app, you can get a head start on this conversation. Judge Merchan now has tremendous power to mess with Trump further. Look, for 6 weeks, he was taken out of the campaign. He creatively did the best he could, but he lost basically 6 weeks. Now, on July 11th, just 3 days before the Republican National Convention, Merchan is going to sentence President Trump. For the record, and I looked, it's usually a minimum of 3 months before you would even do sentencing in a false business, report filing case like this. This was business expenses. They bootstrapped it into a phony felony, and they got away with it for now, but it is going to be overturned. Merchan can now jail President Trump. The sentence could be 4 years for each count, but it's maxed out at 20 years. He's not going to get anything like that. He's a nonviolent first-time offender under special circumstances even. But Merchan could jail Trump, send him to Rikers, house arrest, tell him you can't leave Manhattan, you can't leave Mar-a-Lago. You get an ankle bracelet. You got to meet with a probation officer. Anytime you want to leave the area, leave the state, leave your county, leave your city, you have to get permission. They can screw with him incredibly, George.
Well, again, watch what you wish for, because as soon as you make the very first mistake and it affects a presidential election in any way, you now open the door for a 6-3 Supreme Court to hear the case immediately.
Well, they're going to immediately appeal the decision because the jury was not properly charged. There were a lot of mistakes. They call them reversible errors. There were dozens of reversible errors. So they're going to try. They have to go through the appellate court in New York, but they're also going to try to do what's called expedite. And we'll see if the Supreme Court will take it. I think the uniqueness of the fact that there's a presidential election in 5 months that they should take it.
Well, that's the only way they can. Does it affect the presidential election?
And George, all they have to do is they don't have to get too much involved at all. They can say, we stay the sentencing until after November 5th. Then Trump can be an unbridled candidate running for office.
Well, isn't it in New Jersey, or is this state countrywide, where 30 days out of an election or 60 days out, they don't charge people? Or
it's not in anything
like
in writing. It's an unwritten rule that the federal government doesn't charge anyone, usually within like 90 days
of an election.
They don't do it. So this is really going to be the only trial that happens before Election Day. And ironically, this is the one that everybody thought was garbage, and it is garbage, but they did achieve their goal. This, I promise you, George, Alvin Bragg and Juan Merchan both know better than we do. it's going to be overturned.
Yeah, well, let's take it a step further. Look at what's going on in Georgia right now.
Yeah.
This Fannie lady is really getting her Fannie handed to her right now.
There's no question.
What took place there.
Yes,
and that takes away, forget your party. It's like it's happening to Republicans now. It can happen to Democrats next.
Well, it's
what you open the door for some, and let's face it, all this is going to be overturned. If it happens to a Democrat and they do the same thing, it would be overturned for them too. But look at all the money spent on lawyers to get to this point.
George, they spend $2 million a day, the taxpayers, just to have this trial.
The cops, yeah.
$2 million a day.
And do you see what's going on in New York City?
$50,000 a day, $2 million for the 6 weeks, and it's terrible.
You got killers. You got people throwing people in front of subway cars,
and they're not even having their trials.
Stabbings. You see the old lady get beat up on the church steps. It's terrible.
Well, let me throw out an example.
And you spend $2 million a day in police.
$50,000 a day, $2 million for the 6 weeks. Yeah. I misspoke. Okay. So listen to this, George. A number of years ago. And I warned the Democrats. I said, you're going to win a battle and you're going to lose the war. They did away with the filibuster rule in the Senate for Supreme Court appointments. So then you didn't need 60.
Yeah.
You just needed 50. And if you had the vice president, or 51, if you didn't have the vice president, that's all you needed. I said, be careful what you wish for, just like you said at the beginning of the show here today, because they're going to be back in power. And you never know what the timing is. And a lot of times justices don't leave until it's a president where they know that they're going to be replaced with somebody that's close to their, philosophy of governance. So what happened was the Democrats changed it. They didn't get any Supreme Court picks in. Trump got 3.
Yep.
Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett. None of them would have been confirmed if the filibuster rule, because the Democrats would have been able to stop it.
Watch what you wish for.
Right. Then you'd have to pick somebody that they would agree to.
Yeah.
So they now have 3 young, very conservative associate justices that they never would have had. On this, Trump, and by the way, we've mentioned this a bunch of times, but I can't say it too many times. The former president, Donald Trump, will address the country at 11 o'clock this morning.
Yep.
So that's something that I'm going to make sure that I am watching it. So here's what you get. Trump is raising a ton of money. This isn't affecting anybody's vote for Trump to speak of, a handful, because everybody knows it's political and that he was targeted for, and even guys like Fareed Zakaria on CNN who hate Trump and are extremely socialist, Democrat, liberal, say that nobody else other than Donald Trump would have ever been charged with this.
Yeah. And Harry,
so we know it.
It gets to the point. It just shows how bad government is, especially at the federal level.
It's broken.
Harry, we've proven, both Democrat and Republican, over and over, the unintended consequences through this was they're ratting on Trump, Trump's saying stuff on them, but we're all finding out what's really going on both sides of the coin there. Again, I'm going to say, you have people, old men and women, making decisions on finance, on borrowing, that have 7 to 10 years of life left in them, that won't be here in 7 to 10 years. Look how rich they got, what they were worth when they got in Congress and Senate. Look how many hundreds of millions are worth when they leave. So they're not going to be here to see the suffering of the next generation, our grandkids, our kids, and everybody else, and what we're going to face the end of our life. They're not going to be here to see that suffering, the potential downfall of America, because the number one national threat right now is our debt. Right now. The amount of money we owe and the amount of money. Do you realize the amount of debt that we owe compared to China and Russia and other countries? It's insane. Every year, our interest rate accumulates to more than what China and Russia both owe in their national debts. That's insane. And, our grandkids are going to be paying for this for, again, a bunch of old people that have 7 to 10 years of life left in them, making decisions for us now.
We all use the language, our great-great-grandchildren will be paying for this.
Absolutely.
This is an amount of debt that can, and Chuck Malaman agrees with me when I say this.
Never be paid back.
It can never be repaid back. It's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. It can never be paid back.
Can you imagine if the rest of the world finally realizes They're stealing from us. They could borrow forever. They're never, ever going to pay it back.
But, George, look what happened. And then look at the destabilizing that will cause and the devaluation of the dollar and all of that.
You don't think that's coming?
But it is happening. It's happening right now. The dollar is not worth what it was. It's terrible. But look how New Jersey is the same. It's just a smaller example. It's the same. Look at the size of this government.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And as we were talking about at the federal level, these are numbers now that can never be paid back. It's all BS. That you can have whatever you have on ledgers, that this is how much is owed. It's like when they stole from Social Security and put IOUs in the till. This is a tragedy.
Yep. And you look at our income, look at our salaries, and the average working Joe out there. Take a family of 5 to McDonald's. It's costing you $65 now. And you look at compared to what you're bringing home, what you actually make in a day after taxes, it's insane what the price of goods are costing us right now.
By the way, the Trump campaign, it's kind of funny, but it's serious too. The Trump campaign just released, they're telling all of the Republican candidates, do not fundraise off of President Trump's conviction. They said, we're keeping a list, we're checking it twice, and we won't be kind about this in the Christmas spirit. And that's a smart thing to do. Trump can raise off of his, issue here, but he's telling all the other Republican candidates not to do that. I just thought it was something that just came out that would be interesting to share with our listeners. It's 30 minutes past the hour. In just a few seconds, let's go to the halftime break. We're going to be right back. And, of course, we have the 6 bonus minutes before Kilmeade, so we're not quite at halftime yet. Atlantic City Councilman George Tippett, if you're new to the program, Councilman Tippett is with us every Friday morning in the 9 o'clock hour. He's a great friend. He's a great guest, and he's a great example of what an elected official should be. He doesn't abuse his position. He doesn't want anything. It's not like your typical politician that gets the position because they want to get something out of it. How can I leverage it? I mean, look at these people that get in office at the national level, congressmen and women. They go in with nothing and they come out millionaires. How's that happen? Tippett doesn't want jobs for anybody. He doesn't leverage in ways that you see how Atlantic City has been turned into a disgusting employment agency. We're very fortunate to have him in there. He does it the right way. And I enjoy the time that we spend on air on Friday mornings, and we'll continue right after this.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
We need to just listen to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Makes me think about things a little bit differently.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We're back. It's 34 minutes past the hour. Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tippett continues. I call this Dateline Atlantic City. We try to talk about what's happening in Atlantic City, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I have to say, Councilman, there's a lot of ugly right now.
Can we go to something that's sad, but
yeah, sure,
I guarantee you touches almost everybody in Atlantic County?
Absolutely.
John Buckeye, John Bucci.
Oh my God,
John is not doing well.
That's what I hear.
His family has reached out to me and told me to keep him in his prayers, that there's a good chance he may not be with us very long. I've known John since 1972.
And I've known him since about that time as well.
Yeah.
And especially got to know him from the late 70s on, when I became a basketball official, because you talk about Atlantic City High School spirit. John.
Yeah. I remember John was Friends Enemies. His famous saying was friends, enemies.
Yes.
I remember where that started was Mississippi and Atlantic Avenue. There was a steak shop there. I can't remember the name of the steak shop where the Key Club was. It used Key Club before it was Key Club in the 70s. It was a steak shop out of Philadelphia. And a bunch of college kids, like college-age kids, were saying friends, enemies. And John picked that up and said that forever and ever, along with the birthdays. Remember, he knew everybody's birthday.
Yeah, he was so smart. Yeah. And is. I'm not going to talk about it in past tense. Is so smart.
Is so smart, yes.
He was always so kind. That's why when that
worked the playgrounds,
when he got jumped that time.
Yeah,
he
never really fully come back from that.
I agree with that. That really messed him up. And he's so kind he's the last person in the world that should experience something like that.
Very harmless person.
Yeah.
You can only say positive things about him.
He would always say hi in your
innocent.
name.
Yeah.
Hi, Harry.
Yeah.
Hi, Harry.
Yep.
And I said, hi, John. It's funny. I refer to him as John, but I never called him John.
Really?
I called him John.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, but I always
some people call him Bucci, some people call him
I've heard
Buckeye.
that.
Yeah,
I've heard both
Buckeye.
of those.
Yeah.
But I always said anytime we're talking about him, John.
Yeah.
But if I was talking to him, I always said just John. I thought it was just more respectful.
He could shoot a basketball really well. He could really make some unorthodox looking shot.
I was going to say to you, his form was not good, but it was effective.
It was very effective for him. Man.
Yeah.
He can make some 3-pointers and foul
long
shots.
Distance shots. Yeah.
And he always make that grunt when he's shooting and bing, And
I've been seeing the Facebook posts though.
So let's keep John in our prayers.
Yeah.
Think happy thoughts. Think your memories of interactions with John over the years, from little kids all the way up to recent.
Oh, his spirit at Atlantic City High School basketball games.
You can look on the Facebook page if they say John hears you. He's not talking, but he can hear you. A lot of people have been going to visit. If you want to take that, look on the Facebook post. It'll tell you where he's at. And if they're still taking visits, but
he's at an assisted living center.
Yes, I think it's in Linwood. I just can't remember the name of the place, but look it up. It's there, and you want to get your last chances to. We're still hoping for a miracle that John pulls through, but just in case.
Does anybody know what happened?
Yeah, I think it was infection.
Okay,
wasn't fighting it off.
Such a shame. Very sad.
No, he, like we said, he never came back from
the mugging.
Yeah, it really, whatever it was.
It was a vicious.
Yeah, it was a vicious attack to an innocent person like that.
I saw some people interviewed yesterday, George, that were the victim of a carjacking, and they were in their own driveway. And these people with guns came walking right towards them with the gun and started firing shots, not at them, but in the neighborhood of, they didn't know if they were getting shot at or just warning shots. So it's all on Ring camera video, and I'm watching this yesterday morning, and it's harrowing because they have a little baby in the car. She reaches in, they got guns on them, and they've already discharged the guns. And to get the baby out, the toddlers are out. It's 3 people in the car at least, a couple people around, and the mom. And she said, "We are all suffering from PTSD. We're a mess." I mean, I can understand that.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It's like when something gets robbed in your house, you feel so violated.
Exactly. Oh, this is very, very good too. I'm happy to do this. I did it in a column that I wrote. Atlantic County Republican Party Chairman Don Purdy just texted me to put out thoughts and prayers to the Corsi family.
Oh yeah,
which is my honor to do so. And as I wrote, and as I've always said, you can have differences, political differences, but when you're talking life and death, it's an altogether different situation. So
John was a shocker. It was really so innocent guy. You know what
I always wondered? John's older than you think he is, right? How old would you say John is?
I'm going to say John's 60, 62.
Yeah, I would guess about that. I mean, I can't. He's always been in my life. I can't remember a time without John in it.
That's what I was thinking. I met him when I was 4 years old, and I know he had to be 8 to 10 years old at that time.
And he was. I'm acting like it's past tense. So I'm saying he was so. He is so observant too. There were times I didn't see him first. I hear, "Hi, Harry," and that tonal.
I like how you do that. It sounds just like
isn't it how he does it?
Yeah.
It's sweet and it's sincere, and I hear it in my head. And when I first found out that he got mugged, and then this later news about his current condition, George, I was so sad about it.
Yeah, me too.
Because there are certain people, they're just sweet and they're good.
You ever have certain people that just remind you of your childhood and the old school neighborhoods? And John's one of those people that bring you back to the original Ducktown, you know?
When it was a better time, because these are not good times, I think you'll agree with this, George, but you can speak for yourself. When we were kids, there was bullying and there were bad things, but it was such a better time. I'll give you an example. I don't really remember anybody ever picking on John.
No, never.
John was
I don't either.
accepted and, right there with everybody and a great spirit, of just goodness and camaraderie and everything. Today, somebody like John
be targeted,
absolute target and bullied and all that. I mean, I can't remember throughout his entire adulthood ever going to an Atlantic City High School basketball game and John not being there.
Yeah.
And you know how there would be the student body and then have songs that they do and different things. He'd be right in there.
Yeah.
Like a cheerleader. But George, that's not the city, the time that we live in now.
Yeah, we're losing our old-fashioned values,
Is it gone forever?
Do you look at that guy on the Chiefs that made that speech? I don't agree.
He'll be at the White House today.
I don't agree with all of it.
Right.
But
it wasn't it wasn't cancelable.
We had my mom had to work, but I had 4 or 5 sisters that helped raise us while my mom was working, and not being able to afford to even have the option of mom staying home and raising you and instilling those values. Are our kids out on the street more, on the TVs, the video games more, because mom and dad both have to work to pay for food?
Yeah, I was lucky.
Housing, cars,
I was lucky, and we weren't rich, but I was lucky. My mom, I didn't have her long enough. She died when I was a freshman, but my mother was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Now, she had a prior career, and she was in the military, actually, even, and very brilliant, but she stayed home, and we had a mom that made our lunch and made our dinner. And
instilled the values.
Yeah. And,
you look at this weekend. I mean, Seaside Heights, Ocean City, Wildwood.
It's terrible.
Where are these kids' parents at? And you know what it is? There's no accountability when they do something stupid. There's no accountability.
This is it. Do you also agree with this point? And we see it at boards of education meetings where the parents don't, stick up for the school or the teacher or the administrator. It used to be, I remember one time my brother and I went home and there was a teacher that was doing some bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we were good kids. And I went home, and I know Dom will back me up on this. And we said, hey, there is just something, not acceptable. Our parents took the side of the teacher.
Yeah.
That's how it was. Even if the teacher was wrong, they took the side, and they couldn't have loved us anymore. So it was just a different time. Now, and I remember it even when I was a school board member, the parents didn't back the school.
Yeah. Don't you think it'd be a great pilot program if we get a certain city to do it where these kids misbehave as bad as to a certain level where they cross the line? Listen, I don't want to put a kid in jail. You only make them a hardened criminal by putting them in jail. But we shouldn't be slapping them on the hands and letting them go.
Consequences.
Community service.
Yeah.
You don't do your community service, you are going to go to a detention center. Take them to the public yard, make them wash all the cars. They need washing or not. Find work for them to do to also instill. You do something stupid, you're going to be held accountable.
I totally agree with that.
And even if you put them into things that starts out as a punishment, but then they learn some type of trade, some type of quality, some type of
structure.
I have to answer to a boss sometime in my life. Somebody is going to be my supervisor, and I have to do what I don't like, whether I don't. They're the type of stupid little easy values that we could instill in our kids instead of just letting them go to reoffend.
Break time, but I want to just add a point of value. I think it is a point of value. I think one of the most important things when you're young is to have structure. If you have a job, like I used to deliver groceries or I washed the dishes at Lambert's in Atlantic City, or any number that I ran the cat rack at $1 Million Pier as a very young 14-year-old, having a schedule, a place that you have to be at a certain time, and having structure and doing work, this builds character and prepares you for being an adult.
Yeah.
Now, come on.
Video games.
Bingo.
It's funny. I went to Wawa last night, and I ran into somebody from my old old friend, and we were talking, and his son was working there, and he was telling me what's going on with his son. He goes, yeah, these video games. I said, don't tell me. He's up all night till about 4 or 5 in the morning. Then he don't wake up to 12 in the afternoon, and half the day's gone. He goes, yeah, these damn video games. It's almost the same problem in every house with our kids with these video games, that we allowed ourselves to buy these video games for our kids, and they're up all hours of the night with these earphones on where they're talking to people from all over the country. I know I experienced it with my own son. I have to stay on top of him to get him to bed early, to get up to be productive. And it's a constant challenge to do that.
It is so true. We're going to come right back. I'm happy about this. It's what I love about my job. We didn't say we were going to do this. This just happens organically, and I love it. We'll be right back. One more power segment straight ahead. It's Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett on the Hurley in the Morning program. Don't go away.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City, Brigantine,
Mays Landing,
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station.
Think identity theft won't happen to you? Think again. There's a new victim every 3 seconds in the U.S., over 15 million this year alone, and many don't even know they're victims. LifeLock alerts you to identity threats you could miss even when you monitor your credit. If your identity's stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save up to 25% their first year with my name, Clay, as the promo code at LifeLock.com.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-887-1010. That's 800-887-1010.
Hurley in the Morning.
Harry Hurley is the only person on the radio who isn't afraid to speak the truth about what's really happening in Atlantic City.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back with George Tibbett. It's Hurley in the Morning, and we'll be back with Councilman Tibbett in just a moment. But this is Harry Hurley for my friends at Ambient Comfort Heating and Air Conditioning Professionals and the $59 air conditioning tune-up special for new customers. There are many, many hot days ahead, and the sooner that you discover a problem, the easier the repairs tend to be. It just stands to reason. You may have already noticed that your system is not cooling your home like it used to. And that might be while, like today, it was 55 degrees when I ventured out here to Broadcast Center. Well, it's not going to be that way soon. And the heat is going to be here, and it's going to be here to stay for several months. So you want to get them in. Tell them that I sent you to Ambient Comfort, and for just $59 for new customers, and it's well worth it, their certified technicians will perform a thorough precision tune-up on your system to make sure that it's safe and running at maximum efficiency. That's regardless of who originally installed it. They can work on all the different systems. When comfort matters, choose who I choose. Choose Ambient Comfort. Schedule your tune-up right now at AmbientComfortNJ.com. That's AmbientComfortNJ.com, or you can call 609-568-0955. That's 609-568-0955 for your $59 AC tune-up for new customers. Tell Ambient Comfort that Harry Hurley sent you. Councilman Tibbett had a great topic for the next segment. My colleague Joe Kelly has owned the story. I glommed on him yesterday and wrote a piece from the angle of Tony's Baltimore Grill getting involved. I got to tell you, I've gotten to know the owners, and I've known some of the staff like Karen since Margie and I were dating. So she's been there for over 45 years. So we saw Karen as recently as last week. I love their social media presence. I love their humor. Joe Kelly's a funny guy. I know he would love Tony's Baltimore Grill's humor. If he doesn't see it, he should look at it. I'm going to point it out to him. They're fantastic. And so they gave me a shout out, which was pretty funny. They put Harry Hurley knows. So they bring up about, hey, Kelsey's, don't go to Margate. come to Atlantic City, come here. But then they go on to say, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to want to get our picture taken, and we're going to. So it's just hysterical. I think it took the temperature down. Mm-hmm. And George, I got to tell you, I understand Tay and Travis and Jason and Kylie. They're social media machines now. So can you believe? I know you can because you've been following it, but the national interest in this is palpable.
I think Kylie is a queen.
She's great.
She's the queen. Yeah. And everybody loves her. Loves the way she's Mama Bear, stands up for the family. She's everything you would want your daughter to be.
I'm a fan.
Obviously I am of her.
Super fan.
You know.
I love what Tony's did, though.
Yeah, but
humor me, George. Let me just read this so that I'm not paraphrasing it, so that nobody can say that I took it out of context. They write a letter, and it's so cool. They have their Tony's Baltimore Grill stationery. You see it, George?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
yes.
It's all colorful, and I had to do this when I saw it, and I'm really happy. There's people on Facebook. For some reason, I see a lot of Joe Kelly stuff. I think people that you're truly interested in, that you care about, that you like, you get to see the people that you care about. So Tony's Baltimore Grill, I mean, that's where I took Margie on our first dates. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it stands to reason they're going to pop up on my Facebook because I've written articles about them and so on and so forth. So I saw this within seconds of them posting it, and I had to write about it. Let me just open this up. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey, as the official authority on not putting up with out-of-towners, we want to offer a few helpful suggestions to avoid another uncomfortable evening at the shore. Step 1, avoid Margate. If you're looking for a night out, come to Atlantic City and the Baltimore Grill. But we have to warn you, there's a very good chance that one of our customers or staff members will say the same exact things that the woman said to you. Our bartender of 35 years, Nino, is a rabid Cowboys fan. It's just hysterical. To Eagles.
Panther, yeah.
Right. Step 2, people will probably ask to take a picture, but it's just as likely they'll ask you something much more inappropriate. Step 3, as long as you and your wife, hold on, it just closed out on me, are nice to us and tip properly, you don't have to worry about us threatening not to let you back in town ever again. Sincerely, Atlantic City's oldest pizza joint. Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you what that did for me. That took the temperature down. I love when you inject humor into a situation. And that is vintage Tony's Baltimore Grill social media. It's always like acquired taste for certain things.
I think the Kelseys would enjoy it and get a good chuckle out of it.
I think it's hysterical.
Yeah, it's right up their alley, something like that.
Here's something that's pretty cool. And Joe, like I said, Joe has owned the coverage here at Town Square Media on it. I'm wondering if the Kelseys, they don't have to because they can go wherever they want, whenever they want. They're in, as you know, they're in Wildwood, they're in Sea Isle. They're wherever they want to be.
Centrally located pretty well.
And it's not unusual for them to be in Margate. And I hope what happened in Margate doesn't stop them. Steve, Cookie is a friend. Steve and Cookies is a phenomenal restaurant. I've written about them at length because they deserve it. They compare to any casino restaurant, the caliber of the chef, the caliber of the owner, Cookie, till the caliber of the wait staff, everything. The food. I dare you to have the seafood pan roast and not tell me it's one of the finest dishes you've ever had in your life. So I would hate to think like one encounter would ever turn them off from ever going back. Because, that's a place that...
it didn't happen in a restaurant. It happened on the street.
I know, but...
you have multiple businesses out there, and you get the overflow of the drunks from other bars.
But they get, Steve and Cookie's got...
I don't think so.
They got the rap.
She has friends that work there that come, and she comes to the summer and visits them all the time. Did you know that?
I do know that.
Okay,
and I also tell you that they're a place that Michael Jordan has eaten at Steve and Cookie's. Mm-hmm. Bradley Cooper has eaten at Steve and Cookies. I'm not talking out of school. These are things that are now public,
Oh, it's always public when they go in there.
Consumption. Yeah, people take pictures and so on. So I don't like to ever see somebody get screwed for something they have nothing to do with. That's my point.
Another classic, watch what you ask for, you might get it.
There you go.
She asked for it, and she got it big time. Not expecting Mama Bear to come back at her like that. But, Harry, I wrote something yesterday.
A friend of mine wrote, don't forget best bartender.
Yeah.
My son-in-law.
What was I saying?
John.
I wrote something. I usually don't reply on Facebook. I read it a lot and see what people are thinking.
Can I say something real quick? I said somebody wrote me about the best bartender, my son-in-law, John. I want to make sure people don't misconstrue. See how the spoken word, I just processed what I said. That could have been taken like John wrote me himself.
Yeah.
Did you think that?
No, not at all.
He
I was
did
on
not.
to the next,
He did not. Go ahead.
Wow, it made me forget.
It's okay. I didn't want to leave him hanging with something that somebody
but anyway,
misconstrued.
I normally don't post on Facebook. I read it a lot and stuff, but
I did.
And I really thought this lady that did this from Bluebell, obviously, she's not a local. Don't paint us locals.
Yeah, if you do me a favor, because I know.
Yeah.
I think Joe Kelly knows. I think a lot of people know.
I won't say the name. I didn't say the name now.
Yeah, we have not said who this is.
But you keep cutting me off, Harry, and I keep forgetting my mind.
No, it's very important because if you had said
I wouldn't, but
who it was,
let me get
we've
back
taken
to
a position to not release the person's name.
That family has a PR firm hired for them, not for this, but prior to this. Why someone didn't tell this lady, and like I said yesterday, get out in front of it, apologize. If anybody would understand wanting a mulligan for saying something stupid or doing something stupid when they're drunk would be Jason, right? Jason would understand. I'm sure they would laugh the next day if she would have got out in front of it and apologized. Learn from it, save her family from any future embarrassment, living in a neighboring town, nobody's going to want to touch that or be around it. It was very rude what she did, and I'm really happy that the Queen went after her and gave it back to her, and it sends a message for the next person that thinks to try that.
Well, what makes a lot of sense with what you're saying is because look at what happened. Yeah. Instead of mitigating and nipping it in the bud, as they say, you had the mayor come out, and he didn't owe anybody an apology.
How hard is it to say I'm sorry? I made a fool of myself.
He apologized, and I'll treat you. Come on back. So it did allow many unnecessary things to ripple.
Yeah, it's gone. You missed that. She missed that boat. She's going to have to live with the consequences on her terrible behavior. She made the town of Margate look bad, but thank goodness the mayor jumped out in front of it. No, I don't want to say made it look bad. You made yourself look bad, and the people. I believe the Kelseys won't pay it no mind. They'll be probably laughing about it today, and I'd be very proud of my wife if that happened. And I see the national support and love for that for her.
Well, here's the reality. If that's almost a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that you're talking about some of the hottest people you've got, and I don't mean hot as in like gorgeous or anything like that. I mean hot property, like popular. You've got
they identify with all of us as blue collar workers.
Travis Kelce. Tay-Tay, Jason Kelce, Kylie Kelce. So when something happens with them, it's always going to be huge.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. But no matter how little or how big, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. I think they're playing themselves out a little bit too much, and they need a break.
Well, here's the thing.
Want more. They're a little bit too much out there, but
it's very hard.
Jason and Kylie make you want to watch because it's more like home.
You've got the two brothers do an excellent podcast.
Yeah.
You got to give them that. They make a lot of news.
I watch it all
They
the time.
talk about anything and it becomes news. You're talking about Taylor Swift, the hottest, entertainer on the planet Earth. And then, of course, you called Kylie the Queen. So they're
now here's a story for you, Harry.
Okay.
This was a good one. I know you're going to be one of your biggest clicks you ever had. You need to do a story.
But if you say it out loud, somebody might. My work is plagiarized every day.
They do anyway, so what's a big deal,
right?
I think you need to do a story with Princess Diana wearing the green Eagles coat, Kylie with that picture of her wearing the green coat, and do a who wore it better.
Ooh.
Who wore it better? I think Kylie is a million times. Well, it's a new up-to-date picture.
I will say I am very familiar with the Princess Di photo.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen the Kylie Kelce photo. Princess Diana is.
They look similar with the blonde hair, the blood.
Are you allowed to say like a smoke show in that outfit? You allowed to say that? I just did.
It's the.
I'm
not part of the monarch.
I'll leave it open for reviewing both at the same time. But I remember that photo.
Yeah. She made that jacket famous. Remember?
And now, oh my God, there's a whole story behind that too. By the way, there's a great story behind that jacket.
I think that'd be a good story. Who wore it better? There's no disrespect there. I think it's a fun one.
I'd like to do a story of them both wearing it, but I wouldn't want to say who looked better in it.
Okay.
Because I think it is a divisive thing.
You're going to let woke do that to you?
It's not woke. Princess Diana, if she was still alive,
I would do it. I'll give you that.
But it's,
no disrespect intended, but I thought it was pretty cool when Kylie wore it and basically almost the same pose.
Watch how within 6 hours that story that nobody would have thought of is going to be aggregating. You'll see.
But it's a fun story.
It is a good
different.
story.
Get away from all the negativity going on in the world and city that we deal with.
I remember seeing that photo and then seeing it again years later and thought, well, that's a jacket. Really, those colors didn't even exist. Yeah. It was a very unique thing. If I remember correctly, it's the lime green, lighter green.
Hunter green.
Is it dark green?
I think it was the hunter green jacket.
I thought it was a lime green.
Hunter's something super dark. Yeah, it was more of a lime green. It was a brighter green.
Yeah, but not the hunter green.
Yeah,
the hunter green is dark.
Yeah,
like forest green.
No, then it wasn't the hunter.
It was the lime. Yeah, which I thought was really.
It was the bright green for sure.
Stood out very, very nicely.
Well, it was fun, Harry. No negativity.
No.
It was
no one was hurt in the performance of this hour. It was great.
I don't have to pay my lawyer no money to review the tapes this week,
George. Great to be. Except if I had done that,
my lawyer's pissed
it would have been
now,
like
right?
it would have been like the movie.
Ain't that crazy? My lawyer has reviewed it.
Of course.
A copy of the tapes to make sure I didn't do nothing.
Facebook when Zuckerberg was in the movie setting up the thing, who's hotter?
Yeah,
and they put two. So I'm glad I resisted.
I like the who wore it better.
Yeah,
no disrespect there.
Good to be with you, George.
Take care,
Councilman Tibbet. Brian Kilmeade is here. He's going to be fired up because he knows that a great injustice has taken place. The former president, who I believe will be the future president, will address the country at 11 o'clock.